22 Committee and the Leadership Contest do hereby declare the results of the first ballot as follows. And I'll read the results in alphabetical order. Kemi Badenoch, 22 votes. James Cleverly, 21 votes. Robert Jenrick, 28 votes. Priti Patel, 14 votes. Mel Stride, 16 votes. And Tom Tugendhat, 17 votes. So as a result of the ballot, Priti Patel is eliminated from the contest, and there'll be a further ballot next Tuesday to reduce the list from 5 to 4 candidates, who will then be going to the Conservative Party conference. Thank you very much for your attendance, and we look forward to the ballot next week.
There we go, Olivia. Priti Patel dumped out of the contest with just 14 votes. Shortly behind her, by the skin of their teeth, Mel Stride on 16 votes, Tom Tugendhat on 17. And the surprise there, Olivia, Kemi with 22, James Cleverly with 21, but leading the way by some margin, Robert Jenrick, 28 votes. But Priti Patel on 14, she's out.
Priti Patel is now out. Robert Jenrick, yeah, not that surprising that he's the favourite among Conservative MPs. We knew he was more popular with Conservative MPs than Kemi Badenoch. I mean, as we expected, those two are well in the lead, but still it all is very, very close together. You've got sort of 22, and then the next sort of pack of MPs, if you like, you've got Tom Tugendhat on 17. That's only 5 votes in it. You don't have to have very many people to change their minds to see that all changing up. And of course, there is a lot of time left. That number 5 will be whittled down to 4 on Tuesday. Those 4 will have a sort of political beauty pageant at the Conservative Party conference at the end of the beginning of October. Then after that, we're going to see 2 weeks for Conservative members to mull over what they make of it. Conservative MPs too. The MPs will narrow it down to just 2 by the middle of October, and Conservative members will vote by the end of October. We can expect to see a result on November the 1st. At the moment, it does look as though Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch will be the 2 who make it to that ballot paper. But as I say, with so few MPs, and we're talking about such small numbers here, such very fine margins, it could all be shaken up at the last minute.
Thank you, Olivia. Exciting stuff. And the bombshell breaking news in the last 5 minutes. Priti Patel has been dumped out of the Tory leadership contest in the first round of the vote. She was one of 6 contenders, of course, to take up the mantle from Rishi Sunak. She's out. She only got 14 votes. And at the other end of the scale, Robert Jenrick leading the way with 28 votes. All very tight, it has to be said. But lots of you asking now, what next for Priti Patel? Somebody said, is she going to join Reform? Will Priti Patel join Reform now she has no future in the Conservative Party? Adrian, you said Priti needs to go. The old Boris government that did nothing about illegal migration. John, you said the right of the party are going to be getting ousted, so One Nation contestants get to put forward their agenda. Dave Biggs, you said Priti had my vote. Back to the safe Liberal ways of the old Tory party then. William, good afternoon, William. You said Jenrick is the best choice. And Kez, good afternoon to you. You said the Tory party have learned absolutely nothing from being a failed party. They have just eliminated probably the best of the bunch to be their leader. I am endeavouring to get Priti on the show, perhaps, or some of her team to get her reaction from that. I want to know what's up for her next, what her plans are, and also where will those 14 votes go from Priti to whoever else. Maybe let's ask Olivia Utley, who's back in Westminster for us now. Olivia, where might Priti's supporting MPs now lend their loyalties?
I'm not hearing them.
Oh, back to me for just a sec whilst we try and get Olivia's comms sorted. So just to reiterate the results then from the Tory leadership first round of voting, in first place, by quite some margin, Robert Jenrick, 28 votes. Then it was Kemi Badenoch, 22 votes. James Cleverly, the Shadow Home Secretary, 21 votes. Then we had Tom Tugendhat on 17, Mel Stride by the skin of his teeth at 16, and last, with 14 votes and out of the race, Priti Patel. Have we got Olivia? Is she there? Not yet, not yet. Let's read some more views. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because the viewers, you say at home, and I'm hearing this from lots of Tory members, that there's a clear divide between the Tory MPs in Parliament, who lots of you I would call, with respect, you'd call them One Nation wets, and then the choice of the membership, which is the more sort of centre-right, hardline right-wingers. The members know who they want. Lots of you saying you wanted Priti Patel, but the MPs in Parliament not getting too excited for her, unfortunately. Is it to do with her previous association with the Boris Johnson government as the Home Office Minister? She's been criticised, of course, I'd say quite deservedly, for failing to tackle migration, both legal and illegal migration. And she gave that rather interesting interview with our political editor Christopher Hope some weeks ago, saying that she wasn't sorry for the government's record, the Tory government's record on migration, had nothing to answer for, and more views are coming in. Dave the Rave, you say, I know Priti Patel is a favourite with GB News, but I don't recall her doing anything whatsoever to curtail illegal migration. Yeah, as I said. Lynn, good afternoon, Lynn. You said it will be the same old for the Conservatives. They needed Suella for true Conservative values. Suella Braverman, of course, not in the race. We are left with 5 contendees left. Leading the way with the votes, Robert Jenrick, 28 votes. Then it was Kemi Badenoch on 22. James Cleverly, the Shadow Home Secretary, on 21. He was in 3rd place. Then it was Tom Tugendhat on 17, Mel Stride on 16, and Priti Patel with just 14 votes. So very, very tight at the bottom. Lots of you asking now, what now for Priti Patel? Will she stay in the Conservative Party and support whoever may become the next leader? Will she perhaps maybe have a conversation with Nigel Farage and reform? And also, I want to know where her votes now will go. Those 14 votes, who may they go to out of the other contenders? I think Olivia Utley has put 20p in the Lecky machine and she's got some comms. Olivia, can you hear me?
Hello, Ben. Yes, I can hear you. I'm here with Peter Fortune, who is the new Conservative MP for Bromley and Bigham Hill. Peter, you backed James Cleverly, didn't you, the former Home Secretary? How do you feel about the result?
I did back James, and I'm delighted with the result. I'd like to start by saying thanks very much to Priti for being part of this conversation. You know, she's been a wonderful advocate and champion for the party, and it's really great to hear her voice. But personally, yes, I'm supporting James. He's a great communicator, he's a great unifier. I think he's somebody who can bring the party back together, and I'm looking forward to supporting him into the next round.
It does feel as though Robert Jenrick and Kemi Badenoch are the runaway favourites at the moment. Do you think James Cleverly really stands a chance of making it onto the final ballot paper? Isn't he a bit too tainted by the last government?
Not at all. I think that James has every chance of going through to the next session. In fact, I'm sure of it. All of our candidates are great. That's what's been so wonderful about this competition. There's such talent on display. For James, we just need to look at his record. As chairman, he brought the party together, delivering a huge election result in 2019 with the help of Boris Johnson, of course. As Home Secretary, he's got a great track record tackling the boats coming across the Channel. And as Foreign Secretary, he was front centre tackling some of the really difficult issues that are in the world today. So he's got huge amounts of experience that he can bring forward to the next round.
You say he was tackling the small boats issue. But if we look at the numbers, small boats crossings didn't really go down under the years of Rishi Sunak's governance. And actually, Robert Jenrick resigned from Rishi Sunak's governance because he didn't think that Rishi Sunak was going far enough. The members of the Conservative Party are deeply concerned about illegal migration. Can James Cleverly really be trusted on that issue?
They're right to be concerned about illegal migration, and James was tackling that. He had a plan to tackle that, and it's actually the Labour Party that we're seeing now that are dismantling that. That's why James' experience is so important, and why we need him as the next leader of the Conservative Party and to become the Prime Minister, so he can finish the work that he started as Home Secretary.
Thank you very much. So that was Peter Fortune there supporting James Cleverly. His message is that James Cleverly has the experience and the talent from his previous time in office to serve again. It does look at the moment as though Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick are the favourites, both among Conservative MPs and in the wider party. But as I say, we're looking at a really small group of Conservative MPs who are voting, and so the numbers are very, very close indeed. In fact, James Cleverly was only 1 vote in this round behind Kemi Badenoch. Badenoch. What will happen to Priti Patel's vote is the next big question. She had 14 votes. We expect those will be from the right wing of the party. Will those automatically go over to Kemi Badenoch and Robert Jenrick? That's the sort of assumption at the moment, but it's a little bit more complicated this time round. We're seeing all sorts of different characters from all sorts of wings of the party supporting very, very different candidates. So it might not be quite as straightforward as those 14 votes simply going to the two candidates who are perhaps seen as the most right wing of the bunch.
Olivia, do you know if Michael Gove is still working with or milling around Kemi Badenoch these days? Because that's a concern of some Tory voters that I've spoken to, that Gove is in the background of her campaign.
Oh, that's a very good question. Kemi Badenoch sort of slightly distanced herself from Michael Gove most recently. That was the last thing we heard, but that was months and months ago. So we don't yet know for sure what, if any, role Michael Gove is playing in all of this. Kemi Badenoch's campaign only really took off in the last week or so. Most Conservative MPs almost took August off. Perhaps they needed it after that election demolition back in July. So we don't yet know the details of who's behind all of the different campaigns, but I expect it will emerge in the coming days.
OK, Olivia, thank you very much. We'll catch up later in the show. Let's get your thoughts now again on gbnews.com/your say and on the emails. Let's have a look here. So, Gwen, you think Priti will join Reform, but Dave, you've replied to that and said, if she gets into Reform, I will not vote for Reform again.